While I may be considering a number of things, I do know where I land on this. Thank God for Joe Manchin and Krysten Sinema. I recognize that it's rare these days to hear a conservative praise a Democrat, and while I certainly have policy differences with the two senators, I appreciate and recognize the sheer amount of public pressure they've been under recently, and yet they haven't wavered from their position. To have colleagues within your party admonish you, citizens taunt and protest you, even the President of the United States denounce you, and his press secretary bully you, and still stand strong, that's nothing short of admirable. Think about that. The leader of the free world went on virtually every television and media outlet he could get his hands on and tried to push these two sitting senators to vote his way, and yet they stood strong. And to further cement that they are committed to their beliefs, this week the largest funder of female candidates announced it would cut off financial support for Senator Sinema unless she changed her mind on the filibuster. And still, she didn't. And in a town that we all know runs on money and favors, that was sure nice to see. Speaking of those favors, Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, he's recently said that he would support a primary challenge against the two, further pitting members of Joe Biden's party against one another. An endorsement from the senator? That's no idle threat, as few can rally the internet and court of public opinion as fast as he can. But again, Manchin and Sinema, they didn't budge. Democrats having control of both houses of Congress and the presidency are now under immense pressure to show a legislative win beyond just spending COVID relief money. And while they do have a reconciliation-based infrastructure bill to tout, it'll take virtually years to bear fruit. And that's an eternity, especially as we approach the midterms. Yes, legislating is hard. Things should move slowly. But when our leaders of both parties choose only to work within their parties and not with anyone from the other, sometimes things don't move at all. But I have to think that maybe, just maybe, that's how the founders wanted it. Today, on most things, Americans enjoy instant gratification. And sadly, Congress is no different. The political pendulum swings to the extremes, but imagine how much our nation would shift from one election to the next if not for processes that prevent this. It certainly makes you think the Founding Fathers were intentional about how fast things should or even shouldn't move, and why. It's easy to go on Twitter and reduce thousands of hours of debate and critical thought to just 280 characters and announce it's just that simple. But guess what? It's not. Now, before you tweet me, I recognize that the filibuster itself is only about 100 years old. But legislators have had processes in place to eliminate debate and protect the minority since just after our nation's founding. And as things become more extreme and we become less malleable to working with one another, a fail-safe switch able to be utilized by the minority encourages compromise. And unlike some sound bites that you may have recently heard, I'm not actually advocating that Manchin or Sinema join the GOP. Don't get me wrong. While I would certainly welcome them with open arms, we need members on both sides of the aisle that are open to engage in debate and conversation and be willing to work with the other side, or in some cases, against theirs. Both are rare commodities these days in Washington. Both Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema have stood for the principle of what I have to believe our founders hoped, giving needed thought to both policy and process, regardless of their party's political pressure or negative noise from the media. And they should be commended for that. Finding myself on the right side of things, I'm Seth Denson.